Hi there, working homeschool mom. This is Charlotte from Charlotte Jones 24/7 and My Little Homeschool. And this is episode number 115 of the Strike a Balance podcast for working homeschool moms. Before I introduce today's episode, I have something super exciting and fun to share. It is Alicia Cohen Designs Homeschool Giftapalooza, which is basically a guilt-free shopping spree for you as a working homeschool mom. There are loads of fantastic high-quality freebies that are going to level up your homeschool and bring more joy and ease into your working homeschool mom life. There are loads of different categories, and here are just a few of the resources that you can get. A year-round doodle challenge, animal play unit for kids, Easter STEM activities, 365 fun days and activities, art and music lessons, a reading seminar for you as a homeschool mom, a stress-less toolkit, homeschool planning and goal setting, a homeschool planner toolkit, and I've included How to Find the Perfect Homeschool Schedule as a Working Mom ebook, which will take you through finding a schedule that's going to work exactly for you and your family step by step. It's super easy to sign up. You'll find the link in the show notes and enjoy this guilt-free homeschool shopping spree. In today's episode, I speak to Sara Vatore, who is a somatic experiencing practitioner, multidimensional guide, and intuitive healer. She's passionate about supporting others at the somatic and energetic levels to expand their capacity to be in flow of life, family, and business with more ease. This was such an interesting episode. I really, really enjoyed speaking to Sara. We spoke about balance, what that means to her. She is a working homeschool mom as well. We spoke about why your nervous system is so important in how you show up in your business, in your work, in your homeschool, for your family. So if you're feeling super stressed, if you're feeling like you're not in a flow, then this is really a fantastic episode to listen to. And Sara is also an unschooler, so be sure to listen to the end where she shares her thoughts on unschooling, and you might be surprised. But before we get to the episode, I'd be ever so grateful if you can rate, review, or subscribe to the podcast. Or you could forward this episode to a working homeschool mom who needs some support, who is feeling frazzled, because this episode will definitely help her. Thank you so much and enjoy the episode. Hi there, and welcome to the Strike a Balance podcast for working homeschool moms. This is Charlotte Jones. I'm your host, and I am a podcaster, a speaker, a writer, and a homeschooling coach, specifically for working homeschool moms. I've been homeschooling my neurodivergent twin boys since 2017, and I've been a working homeschool mom since 2017. So I know it can feel really overwhelming to keep all the balls in the air all the time. So each week I chat about tips and strategies for being a happy and thriving working homeschool mom. I cover things like time management, homeschooling, mindset, and lots of other juicy topics like that. I also speak to awesome and inspiring women who manage to juggle homeschooling and work successfully and find out what their secrets are. And I also welcome experts who can help you on your working homeschool mom journey. I have lots of ways to support you, so be sure to check them out in the show notes. You can download my time audit as your first step to managing your time better. I have a Facebook group for working homeschool moms that you can join as well. And be sure to sign up to my newsletter for weekly updates. And if you need additional support, you can join the WHM Collective, which is a supportive community of working homeschool moms where we delve deeper into topics that are going to help you thrive as a working homeschool mom. Or if you need one-to-one support, be sure to book in a session with me. I'm so excited for you to be here, and I know you'll get so much value out of this episode. So let's get started. Working homeschool mom, I know how overwhelming it can be to choose a math curriculum for your homeschool. That's why I'd like to tell you about the online math curriculum we've been using for years, ctcmath.com. As far as math curriculums go, it has loads of great features that solve lots of the math issues we've had, and I know a lot of homeschooling families have. Here are just a few of the many features that we really like. Questions are adaptive, which means the interactive questions change in difficulty depending on the student's ability. The program uses a smart algorithm that tracks the student's progress and delivers questions based on their exact needs. The student doesn't even know this is happening, helping them to build confidence and master math concepts. Concepts are delivered through video tutorials and summaries which are clear, complete, and easy to follow. It's like having your very own teacher. This ensures your children understand something before they're asked to practice it. And then for us parents, CTC Math has extensive reports which are so valuable in monitoring your child's progress and spotting any gaps. And they offer a 12-month money-back guarantee if this curriculum is not for you and your family. CTC will provide a full refund, no questions asked. But I think the most important thing is a whole lot less stress when it's math time for both parents and kids. You get to outsource math with confidence, and your kids get a fantastic tailor-made program that makes learning and mastering math enjoyable and positive. Visit CTC Math today to start your free trial. CTC Math is also offering you, listener, an amazing special. When you go to ctcmath.com/MLH, you can get a half price discount plus a bonus 6 months for free. That's ctcmath.com/MLH. Today, I have an exciting guest on the podcast. I'm chatting to Sara Vatore, who cannot be defined by one title or job. A former high school guidance counselor turned entrepreneur, Sara is a somatic experiencing practitioner, multidimensional guide, and intuitive healer. She is passionate about supporting others at the somatic and energetic levels to expand their capacity to be in flow of life, family, and business with more ease. Sara is also a peak performance coach working with athletes and performers to overcome blocks and fears and embody confidence. A level 2 MELT method instructor supporting others with their connective tissue care and nervous system health, a somatic educator with Lead Yourself Youth, and a mentor of coaches. A mystical Jewish witch, unschooling mama of boys, and lover of all things magical. Sara is here to shine a light on the infinite potential and possibilities we have access to in the hidden realms and within ourselves. I'm so excited to chat today, Sara. Welcome to the podcast. I'm really thrilled you're here.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really an honor to be here.
Today, we're going to be chatting about somatics. I know that's kind of your speciality, and how to move from overwhelm, burnout to embody ease and calm. Yes, please. I know so many of you working homeschool moms, new and experienced, are overwhelmed by everything you have to do every day. So let's start maybe with balance. Obviously, the name of this podcast is Strike a Balance. It's kind of a contentious kind of term in a way. So what does balance mean to you?
Yeah, and so I love that question because I was looking through other guests and thinking about this concept of balanced, and I'm a Libra, and for so long, right, you think of Libra as like this perfectly balanced woman who's holding the scales. And about 12 years ago, I realized balance is a continual state. It's not an end goal. And so, like, when we think about those scales, it's sort of like being very aware of when things are out of balance in order to make different choices, in order to bring ourselves back into more health, more vitality, more lightness. So it's not sort of a fixed state that we get to like achieve and then we're there and then it's all good for forever. It's an ebb and flow that we have to be very aware of as we're on our journeys.
Absolutely. And it's so funny. New working homeschool moms, when they join my Facebook group, it's like one of the most common questions is like how to find balance. And I've kind of now discovered it's not like you can feel more balance, but like finding balance is like
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, leaning into that, being aware and testing and tweaking.
Sure.
And I think it's such an important kind of skill to have, and a way to have a successful working homeschool mom life is that, just being able to adjust as needed.
Yeah, and we can get so down on ourselves, I think, too, when things are quote unquote out of balance, like as if we're not doing it the one right way. And I think that this acceptance or recognition that there isn't an end goal or there isn't one way to do it, and we get to sort of be in this flow, and our kids aren't happy all the time. I mean, they're not balanced all the time, and it's our jobs to embody, right, have in our bodies as much ease as we can in order to project that out into the environments we're working in. But if we don't feel that way, we can't shame ourselves or beat ourselves up, because then we'll just stay stuck in that spiral. And that's not helping. It's not helping anyone.
Absolutely. That is so true. let's talk about what somatics is. I've seen this word a lot
Sure.
lately. I did have a little bit of a look around, a bit of research, but maybe you can explain what it means as somebody who's an expert and why this topic is so important to know about as working homeschool moms.
Yeah, absolutely. So soma means body. So somatics is the awareness of our bodies. And we're wired for survival. We're mammals first. And so our survival patterns take precedent over everything. And so our body often reacts, responds, is in habits that are out of our awareness. And whether or not we want things to be different or know things can be different, if our body is feeling a way, that impulse is going to override how we're showing up with our kids, how we're showing up in our relationships, how we're showing up in holding space for the schooling for our children. And so to me, somatics is really important. My story is I was really, really shut down and stuck in what I would call like an autopilot hamster wheel. Like only ever thinking about to-do lists and have tos and shoulds. And when I started to explore this topic, and I did a pretty extensive training that was developed by Peter Levine called Somatic Experiencing, and he really looks at our bodies as governed by our mammalian biology. And when I started to explore my own system, I realized, wow, there are so many ways that I'm showing up that I am completely unaware of and don't have control over. And I'm just getting stressed out or anxious or worried about things automatically and not really feeling like I have choice. So learning about the body, learning about the nervous system, which is sort of what's governing our behavior, and how our thoughts influence how we feel, and how our body influences the thoughts we have, learning all of those pieces then allow me to show up for myself and my body and my family in a way that's really aligned, instead of like just wanting not to be stressed out or wanting to not be overwhelmed. I actually have that alignment in my system where I can feel at a body level calm and grounded. And that doesn't mean that I don't get frustrated or irritated or triggered, but I can come out of those emotional states or those triggers with more ease. My body gets to oscillate through emotions. I don't shove emotions anymore. I don't ignore things. And because of that, my body is a lot healthier. I was holding a lot of chronic illness, a lot of pain, a lot of dysfunction in my physical body, which impacted my patients, impacted how I was living my life and showing up. And through finding this new awareness and really learning how the body communicates and learning how to reconnect and not ignore what's showing up, we then can find more health in our system and actually shift patterns that aren't working for us anymore, in a really big way.
Wow, that sounds really, really amazing. So I know there might be ways to prevent it, but I think kind of in this day and age, especially with working homeschool moms, I think a lot of people are in that overwhelmed state already.
Oh, yeah.
What are some ways that you can kind of manage this and overcome? What are some practical things that people can do to kind of be more in touch and to kind of overcome this overwhelm?
Yeah, so the first place to start is building awareness. So many of us grow up super disconnected from our bodies. We live neck up, right? We're in school, we're praised for our intellect, we all think a lot. No one teaches us that there's this body that's doing these things. And so we've learned how to ignore and shove and override. And so the first step in building this awareness is reconnecting to how the body is showing up. And I like to use a 0 to 10 scale, where 0 is my baseline and helping people learn what baseline is. So 10 is I'm super overwhelmed, I'm stressed out, frustrated, I'm raging, I'm angry. 10 also can be I'm really excited, I have a lot of energy and like this is awesome, right? All of that shows up physically in the body in the same way. Heart rate increases, breathing gets shallow, muscles get tight. We don't feel so great, a little nauseous, little knot in the throat, right? So building awareness of that scale, but particularly getting real curious about where are you a 0? And if you're never a zero, because many of my clients come and be like, well, Sarah, I'm never a zero. It's where are you closest to being a zero? Or when in your life have you been a zero? When in your life did you go on a vacation when you were 16 and had no homework and were able to relax at the beach? Like, where are your happy places? Where are the spaces and places where you feel the least amount of stress? So starting to look at that. And then when you know those places, so for me, it's getting outside. I'm a beach girl. I don't live near the beach, but like going to the beach is like my absolute happy place. I am grounded. I'm rooted. I'm connected no matter what is going on around me when I'm at the beach, right? Identifying those places and then noticing in your body, what does it feel like? What does it feel like to be calm? What sensations are showing up? What is your body doing when you're grounded, when you're feeling rooted, when you're feeling centered? If I don't know what that feels like in an overwhelmed moment or stressed out moment, I'm not going to find it if it's not a familiar place. And so we really have to start, and this can be really hard because we're wired to look for danger. We're wired to look and pay attention to what's not working and dysfunction. And so particularly as homeschooling moms, like there's a lot going on. There's a lot we're juggling. There's a lot of chaos. So it's choosing really intentionally into, okay, like what's working, and when it's working, how do I feel physically in my body? And that is the perfect place to start when we've been pretty disconnected.
Yes, I love that. I love that because my word for the year is actually embody. So it's like I want to
Oh,
embody like
yes.
ease and things like that. So it's something that I'm really,
Mm,
so I think this is kind of a fateful chat today.
of course.
Definitely. So then, okay, so you find this place now. How, because obviously we
Hmm.
can't always be at the beach or we can't always,
Yes,
like,
yes.
how do we get to that place, especially when everything is like super chaotic and there's so much going on?
Yeah. So a couple of thoughts on that. One is I'm all about creating spaces. My business is all about developing spaces so that we can find ourselves again. Because particularly as people who are always around our kids, there's a lot of what I would call merging that can happen. Or if we have a partner that's around a lot, where we're joining in the energy of the other person. So we're made of energy. It's not a woo woo thing. That's just like with the physical structure of our body. So we're constantly projecting out to the people around us. And the Heart Math Institute actually measured, I think they're saying we're about 6 to 7 feet projecting around ourselves, our energy. And so if your kid's really wound up and they're projecting that out and we're not, aware of my own body separate and my own energy separate from them, we're going to easily or more easily merge and join. And then, as we all know, right? And that doesn't work so well. So finding spaces and places to feel ourselves again. And that's really hard when we're homeschooling because we're always on. So I do this in a few different ways. I have daily spaces, weekly spaces, and quarterly spaces that I create for myself. So a daily space could be, I remember this well, when I have a 10-year-old and an 18-year-old. So when my 10-year-old was in the car seat, right, it didn't matter how long it took me to get him out, it didn't matter how many tears were shed. The minute I buckled him in and closed the door, that 45-second walk from his door all the way around to the front where I was driving was my time. I looked at the birds that were outside. I took a deep breath. It was raining. I feel the rain on my face. It's taking really tiny moments. I think we can get really overwhelmed with like, oh, now I have to schedule a whole other thing, or if it has to be this big thing of self-care. And this is really about weaving in small moments and spaces where we can just, what I would call, sense ourself, sense our feet, just check in, like what's going on. There's so many ways that we ignore. Like oftentimes you'll have to pee, or you'll need something to drink, or you haven't had anything to eat all day. So finding different moments to just sort of sense yourself, sense your body. What do I need? And that is sort of this twofold of reconnecting to basic needs. That's our body's always communicating to us different things, and we're really good at ignoring. And so the way that we start to build a reconnection and rebuild trust in our bodies is knowing what our body is communicating and then honoring what's showing up. So, noticing if you have to go to the bathroom and not ignoring it, not just holding it till the end of the lesson, like get up and get up and go. Eating when you're hungry, not eating if you're not hungry, letting yourself rest when you're tired. And I know these things can be tricky to do in a full day. So it might be that you're not doing all of those things, but you're choosing one thing. I'm committing to going to the bathroom when my body tells me to go to the bathroom. That's the easiest one to do, because we all multiple times a day have to go. So really making sure we're creating spaces and checking in with our needs. So my daily spaces are like, in between like activities with my son, like we'll both go outside and take a breath of air, or we'll have a dance break. Sometimes I try to weave things in that work for my body that would be supportive for my son too. And I think that we forget that we can work with our kids in this way to also reconnect to ourselves and teach them how to be checking in and connecting to what's true for them and what they need. So those are kind of my daily spaces. Then weekly, my husband and I have an agreement. Like I have certain work days. He's home 5 days a week, and I work a lot. So he will hold down the fort, and then I will have certain spaces for myself that are for me. And then quarterly, I did this last year and it really worked, and I'm going to do it again this way. I went away alone 4 times last year for a whole weekend. And no work. So all you moms out there running your own businesses, I know how easy it is when we get time off or time alone, we put it into our business because we love it, or we're catching up on work that we want to be doing. And the alone space without working, right? Without output, without the doing, right? And this is very hard for all you doers out there. I resonate with that. This has been my journey. Is we have to have spaces where there's no expectation for our body, where we don't have to be tracking another body or another system or another schedule, right? We were joking when we started because my camera wouldn't work for the video and I had too many tabs open, right? Like literally on my computer, too many tabs open. And that's how it feels as a homeschool mom. We got lots going on. And sometimes we do need to just shut it all off and reboot. And that's what my computer needed this morning, which is just this beautiful mirroring for all of us out there, I think.
Absolutely. Yes, I love that. I love the fact that of those moments, because I think, like you said, it can be overwhelming to try and all of a sudden do an hour of self-care every day. And for some people, it's just absolutely not possible
Yeah,
at all. So really
absolutely.
starting so small, as tiny as you can. Yes. And I think you
Absolutely.
kind of get used to it as well. And also for the ones with very small kids,
Yeah.
it does get easier when your kids grow up.
Yes,
So
it's
just
true.
have remember
Very
that
true.
in the future, it does get easier.
It's very true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the nervous system, why is it important for us to kind of know about the nervous system, and for us and for our kids as well? What is the importance of being so aware of our nervous system?
I think that's a really great question. Well, we have automatic protective programs that come online when our bodies are feeling like they're under, like, quote unquote threat or danger. And danger, when we were living back in the day in caves, that was very physical. The danger was really like giant animals coming to attack us. And so danger now is just fear of failure, fear of making a mistake, fear our kids aren't learning what they need to learn, or that they're not joining us, fear in general, I think. And that shows up in the body as the same way as if there's a tiger chasing us. And that can happen automatic. And so there are ways that we have patterns that we've gotten into where we're more reactive or more shut down. I know for me, I have a very fiery little one. We've worked through a lot of stuff, but my nervous system would really break down in fear when he was angry. So there's some trauma in my background. So depending on our childhoods, depending on our upbringings, depending on our upsetting experiences, our body responds different ways in the face of different emotional states. And so I would find myself working really hard to make sure that like my son didn't get mad. And that's not a way to parent, and that's not a way to homeschool. Like there's going to be conflict. There are going to be situations that come up. So I had to really learn how to work with the discomfort in my body, because my automatic response in the face of anger was to shut down, right? Or to appease, like to make sure everything's okay. It's very similarly with my fiery Italian husband. So we call him my anger guru. So I've had lots of opportunities to learn my default patterns, which is shutdown. Other people have patterns where they're explosive. I work a lot with moms and dads who are getting really reactive with their kids when they're not following through, or when their buttons are pushed, or when they're feeling overloaded and overwhelmed, even when they don't want to be. And so the nervous system is really important, because that's what's governing how we're showing up. That's what's responsible for how we're showing up. And so when we can learn how to have healthy nervous system regulation, which means like I can get angry and then I can come out of it, or like I can be irritated and I come out of it. I can feel a little bit of nerves or fear and I can come out of it and find that baseline that we were talking about, instead of getting stuck. A lot of us get angry, like I'll use my poor husband. We're driving down the road, some idiot cuts us off, right? And then he's just, oh my God, that, choice, insert choice word there, like we're going to die. Can't believe you almost hit us, right? And he'll stay stuck up there for a really long time and not come out. And so understanding our nervous system is really important as parents, because we're projecting out, as I named before, into the space. And if I am modeling that I can get frustrated and then come out of that and return back to calm, or that I can feel nervous about something and come back, that's mirroring to our kids emotional regulation, how to be like a whole human and not to shove or ignore what's showing up. And then when I know my own nervous system states, when I'm aware of how my body is showing up in the home and in my life, I then have a much better sense and can start to build awareness around my little one's nervous system state. And I've had to do a lot of work with my son, because his default is anger. His default, if he feels like any boundary is being breached in any way, from like, a real boundary to like, I'm just making him brush his teeth because it's bedtime, right? He would have, it's way better now, but he'd have these really big explosive reactions. And that really stemmed from, he was born with the cord wrapped around his neck, and our body memorizes upsetting experiences. And so he came into the world fighting for his life. So everything is a fight. Everything, he just is like, in this attack energy. And so there are ways that we can work with our kiddos that have really big emotions, or who are argumentative, or, having a hard time, or who might be more quiet or reserved or shut down. Like there are ways that we can help understand how their little bodies are showing up, so that we can invite in more health for their systems as well. And as we build more awareness of ourselves and heal our own stuff without our kids having to do anything, it projects and it heals their patterns they might be holding from us, because we're passing these patterns down for generations. So I have trauma in my body that was my mom's and my dad's, and that has dictated kind of some of the patterns in my life. And I've had to do a lot of work navigating some of that. And I'm sure many of you see your patterns or your partner's patterns in your kids. And so nervous system awareness and somatic healing or nervous system healing is a way that we get to help them integrate some of that stuckness, so that it's not affecting how they're showing up, and it's not affecting how we're showing up with them.
Oh, I love that. Oh, yes, yes, yes. So I think I've noticed time and time again just how much, or speaking to homeschool moms, working homeschool moms, how much you have to face your own baggage when you are homeschooling your kids, because you spend so much time with them. I mean, there is no escape. And
Indeed.
how it can, I mean, obviously, like when you can work through it, how much of a bond you can actually build with them at the end, and then also modeling that behavior. I mean, those are such fantastic points, and such a one difficult, maybe definitely not easy, but a wonderful gift, I think, that homeschooling does offer us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do, and it is challenging. I mean, being a parent, let alone homeschooling, is challenging. We're constantly staring in the mirror at some of our dysfunctions or distortions or things that we don't like about ourselves. And, what was coming up for me as you just said that was, socially growing up, like I really struggled making friends. So I have a lot of anxiety when we go to social things. It's not my son's issue or my son's anxiety, but I'm there and I'm navigating the dynamics with the mom, and it's bringing up all my social stuff. And then I'm watching him and my own fear that he won't have friends, so that's all dictated by what my body is doing. And, when we're unconscious, when we're not aware, we might inadvertently be projecting our worries, our fears, our struggles onto our kids, even when they're not anxious or upset. And so, for me, my nervous system work has been just essential in helping calm down my body in those moments. And I still have to work on that. Like, that's still something that's very alive for me. And I imagine as he gets older and a lot of my wounding happens sort of my teen years, as so many of us have, right? So that might show up and I'll have to continue working on it. But it's why having a body awareness is so important, so that we're really showing up for our kids so that they can be received wholly as they are, not how we're thinking that they might be feeling because we had some upsetting experiences as kids.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I love that. Yes. Maybe you could also just, before we finish off, speak a little bit about unschooling, because I know a lot of people are unsure about unschooling. They think it means you don't do anything, some of them. So maybe we could just have a quick chat about unschooling and what that looks like for you, just for anybody who's curious out there, because I know a lot of people are.
Yeah. Yeah. My son, my youngest, so I have an 18-year-old who went traditional school route, and then COVID for us with my youngest was the push we needed. We were leaning towards homeschooling anyways. He is here to show us that there are other ways to do education. And so when I first heard of unschooling, I just was really drawn in, and we started following some of the principles, and it's really working for my son. And so it's created or developed through this understanding that we are naturally curious learners, and that through experience, through access to experience, our kids will learn what they need to by following their interests. And so as the parent, it's creating spaces and places for them to get curious, for them to be in learning and following projects that light them up without using curriculum. And so I definitely oscillate through fear around, am I messing him up? Like, I'm not using curriculum. Like, is this going to be a problem? And day after day after day, I have a mirror back to me of like how much this is working, because my son's lit up about the different things that he's following and the projects that he's done. He's a very hands-on kid. So my husband's an electrician and a solar installer. So they're outside, we have acreage. So they're working the gardens, they're building things, they're turning an old lawnmower into a go-kart currently. Because of that project, they had bought like a small machine to learn about machine parts and motors. And through that project, right, like that's design, like they made this whole blueprint of what the lawnmower go-kart is going to be. He loves to bake and to cook. And so we do a lot of our math. He knows all his fractions now because of cooking and baking, and him wanting to do it on his own and being really curious and investigating. And so when he's interested in things, my husband and I keep our ear out so that we then can offer opportunities or create spaces for the interests that he's into. And I think what I love about unschooling, but just homeschooling in general, is that there's not one way to do it at all. And as individuals, we all learn differently, and we're all curious in different ways. And so it's really about finding the right methods and things and experiences and or curriculum that work for our different kiddos without judgment and without it needing to be one thing. I live in a community where there's a robust homeschooling environment. There's lots of opportunities, and I'm still one of the only people that I know that unschool. Like, I'm very much on the fringe of things, but I'm welcomed, I'm accepted, because we all, when we're homeschooling, we're understanding that our kids are learning in the ways that they need to learn. And it's unschooling really is about allowing those interests to lead. And I imagine a number of you who are using curriculum are probably also unschooling in different ways without like knowing that it's unschooling, quote unquote. If you're creating experiences for your kids to get excited, that's unschooling.
I love that. Yes, because because people do think it's like, okay, they'll do their own thing, but I mean, you know, you have to be pretty hands on. You have to give them those experiences. You have to, like you said,
Yes.
listen. I love that. Listen out and be like hyper aware of the things that they like, and I mean, really observe them
Yeah,
so much. I think that's so important.
absolutely.
Mm.
And asking questions, I think that's the other thing too. There was a period of time, my son's really as many of our kids, like, really like screens. Like, he is a video game guy. He learned to read playing video games. Like, I will, like, bless the video games all day long. Now, he didn't want books, but he would read the captions on the video games. And so it became, me getting, I don't like video games, but I have to learn how to get real interested in what he's doing so that he then can tell me all about it, or then write a short story about the, journey that he just went on in the video game, right? By choice, because his mind just got so excited when I started to ask him questions and I named that it sounded like a good short story. And then he, took that invitation and rolled with it. So I think there are ways that, unschooling can get a bad rap of like, oh, they're all on screen, on screens all day long. And I do have to say, my son's on screens a lot, and I'm engaging with him. We're talking about what's happening. He's excited to show me things. He's learned this whole music program. He's creating beats and beatboxing and laying over audio with the beats that he's creating. I mean, there's so much that he's into on it. And so I'm not going to force him to sit and do a workbook that he's going to scream at me about if he can be engaged in a different way.
Yes, yes, the fear of the screen. I know it is real, but
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, my
it
kids have
is.
also, I'm like, where did you even get that from? Oh my gosh, it's amazing what they can learn. Autodidactic. Again,
Yeah.
my kids are totally autodidactic. They don't want anybody to tell them anything. So, so before we finish off, maybe you can tell us anything you're working on that you're excited to share, and where's the best place for everyone to connect with you online?
Sure. Yeah. So the best place is my website. I'm in my 8th year of my business. So I have like 7 full years of like blogs that you can read through, and there's a lot of writing on my website. I am a forever learner, so I'm trained in a bunch of things, and I'm really excited about the science behind all of the things that I'm trained in. So that's a good place for me. Also, Instagram, I'm at Sara.Vatore. There's no H in Sarah. And on Facebook, I'm at Expand Your Capacity, but definitely my website's the best place. And then I am in love with my one-on-one coaching. I mean, that's something that I've been doing, for the last 8 years, but I identify as a somatic coach. So for folks who are looking to really learn a lot of what we're talking about and have a better sense of their bodies and build that awareness, or for those people who are more somatically based, I hold pretty big space to go deep and to rewire and repattern programs that aren't serving you so that you can show up in your families and your lives and your businesses in the way that you want to, with some more ease, some groundedness, some centered feelings. And then the other offer that I launched last year that's just been amazing is I've been offering these one-on-one healing retreat weekends that are intentionally curated for the person coming. So for those of you who might be in the US, I have people who on the East Coast, so fly up my area, and I put you up in an Airbnb and then come in for different time blocks to offer nervous system support and healing for the body to make real lasting changes. I love doing those weekends because I designed those exactly what I needed. I call it spacious weekends retreats, right? So exactly what I wanted, for myself as a homeschooling mom running her own business, to be able to get away for 2 nights, 3 days with no responsibilities and just focus on myself, to expand my body's capacity to hold everything without overwhelm, without collapse, so that we can thrive. And so those have been really, really juicy and fun.
Well, that sounds amazing. I could fly to the US for that. That sounds like something I would definitely love to do. All right. Thank you so much for your time today, Sarah. Thank you for sharing so many interesting things that we can implement in our working homeschool mom lives. It's been really nice to meet you. And yeah, thank you for sharing everything you did today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love being in this conversation with you, Charlotte. Appreciate it.
I really hope you enjoyed the episode. Please let me know what your greatest takeaway was. You can reach out to me on Instagram at charlottejones247 or on my website at mylittlehomeschool.com, or you could even drop me an email at hello@mylittlehomeschool.com. I'd be ever so grateful if you could rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. It will help spread the news about being a working homeschool mom, and in that way we can build this wonderful supportive community together. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, take care.